Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire and the SBN Small Business Network podcast. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we're joined by an incredible guest. He is an author, speaker, and coach, Mr. Ryan Reichert. How you doing today, Ryan?
Hey, Ryan, good afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. It's such an honor to be on your platform and allowing me to maybe tell a little bit about myself.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to dive in here because we have a very similar story and we have the same first name, so should be kind of interesting here.
That'll be fun. Absolutely.
So the number one question the audience probably wondering, who is Ryan Reichert?
Yeah. So, I kind of start this off the same anytime I hop on a stage or a mic. And Ryan T. Reichert, circa 1978 from Hoople, North Dakota. It's also known as Tatertown, USA. It's about 350 people. And I was, just a businessman's son, a school teacher to my mom, and, played all kind of sports, football, basketball, baseball, and track growing up. It was a little farming community in the northeast corner of North Dakota. And, I grew up Catholic, and it was one of those things in high school. I got hurt. I hurt my right knee playing football, and kind of led me down a road of alcohol and some prescription drugs. But, at the end of high school, I was able to go to the University of North Dakota. I wanted to join the Army and go to West Point, but some of the hardware that was in my knee from that couple surgeries I had back my freshman year kind of sidelined me there. And so just went to University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux back in 97, like the rest of my family did. And a few years into that, I joined the Army, and, that was pretty cool. I had a 23-year career as an infantryman and deployed to Afghanistan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia a couple times. And finally retired in, I guess it would have been in June of 2022 as Lieutenant Colonel, Airborne Ranger, and cut my teeth in Fortune 500 America for a couple of years, and then I say laid off, because that's what I felt it was. But I kind of like using the term fired now after talking to a couple of buddies that have been recently. They said fired, and I was like, it sounded like y'all got laid off or whatever. And he's like, no, we like the term fired or whatever. It just has a little more oomph to it. So I was like, maybe I should have said I was fired. It doesn't matter, I guess, semantics. But what it allowed me to do is start Our Protector LLC this past year in December, and started writing books. We have God Only Knows When the Devil Comes for You, A Second Chance at Life, and then I'll delve deeper into this first book as it kind of reflects there. And then the second book, The Icarus Effect, The Highs and Lows of Our Emotions. We All Have Feelings, which will be out here the end of September for the public. But yeah, we started that. We started coaching. I went Ben Newman coaching and got certified through him. Amazing how he teaches the standard and the burn. And that's where I want to rewind into my military career. And about halfway through, I enjoyed a nice 10 years of operating where, I was able to, go to Afghanistan, Iraq, and, we were able to do bad things to bad people. But in 2011, I blew my Achilles out on my left leg, so the opposite leg. And that kind of led me down a deeper road of prescription drug addiction following that. And, it took a couple of years to come back from that injury. I was a ultra marathon runner when I was in the service. I had a great first sergeant, Scuba Steve, that got me into long distance running and so forth. But when I blew that Achilles out, it really suffered. I've only run one marathon since then. It was the Marine Corps marathon back, I want to say, in 2013. And, today it's more of kind of an airborne shuffle, still with a couple limps and so forth that gets me around the track. But certainly working my way back into the fight. I sobered up 21 months ago, separated from a long-standing relationship with my former spouse after sobering up, and got laid off. Also, my children were estranged for a little while. I have two daughters today, 17 and 19. One's a senior in high school. Another's a sophomore in college. Super proud of both those girls. Actually, the youngest, we'll just call her Baby Boo. But she's going to the University of North Dakota next fall. So I couldn't be more proud of both of them. It'll be a house divided, though, because the oldest, Laura, she goes to the University of Minnesota as a gopher here in Minneapolis, where we live today. And So yeah, if we're ever back up in Grand Forks and she comes to town, I'll always wear the University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux. But yeah, it's been a rough road. But today I just know that born Catholic, married a Lutheran, and today I just follow Jesus Christ, and it's one of those where I just can't go wrong. I teach the boys on Wednesday nights here when the school year kicks off. We're actually moving into a new campus at Eagle Brook Church here in Plymouth. So we don't start teaching until next month. But it's just, I've come full circle. I teach sixth graders. I started drinking when I was 6 years old, sixth grade, 12 years old. And it's just to see the transformation of just trying to do the right thing and following the Lord. It truly redeemed at this moment in my life. And, hey, just like two Ryans, brothers from other mothers here, pretty special. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, you gave us a lot to unpack there, man. So first, like, can you explain what it's like growing up Catholic in your small community?
Oh, it was the first book I really dived really deep into, like that introduction. And so we were like a 99% Protestant community. So Lutheran, Methodist, mostly Lutheran. I want to say granted, the school's really small. If you have a town of 350 people combined with another town just to make up the elementary and the high school, we maybe started with 20 kids. I graduated with 11, but it was just another gal and I that were the kids that went to the church in Crystal, St. Patrick's. And it's one where I looked at it all as very much, vengeful God. Think Old Testament. And so, like when I hurt my knee that freshman year, I looked at it. I was being punished for all my sins up to that point. And I'm sure I did a lot of things of, tipping. I'd say tipping cows, but we're not a cattle community. More potatoes and sugar beets and stuff like that. But I'm sure we tipped over our fair share of something, that we got ourselves into trouble. I was definitely one to get into trouble. The old pop bottle bombs and stuff like that on people's porches, and thank goodness no one got hurt, I guess. But it's one that when I reflected on everything growing up, anytime something bad happened, I looked at that was, vengeance versus like just protection. And I look at it today, like everything that's happened in my life was divine protection from something worse. And so that to me is where I've turned it a little bit differently in how I view it. And so my perspective on, just that in itself. And, confession, thinking of Catholicism as a child where I looked at it, you want me to tell the truth. Well, I don't want to do that because I'm getting punished, right, kind of thing, and all you have to do is say some Hail Marys or some Our Fathers. And now today I look at it as a good thing to be able to tell the truth and communicate that through confession and every single day. But growing up, it wasn't that way. I couldn't see it that way as a child, even as, I say I didn't become a man until I was 45, the day I finally told the truth of, all the lies that I'd been telling my entire life. And that was the day that I sobered up, after having my last drink kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I kind of have that similarity right there of like kind of falling away from what they were teaching. Did you have a similar experience where you were kind of taught, to just go to church, but you weren't really taught to have a relationship with Jesus?
1,000%. I laughed at people who were like, he's a loving God and Jesus Christ, as our Lord and Savior and so on and so forth. And it was, when I think back to it, like today, like my Bible's out in the other room, but, it's part of my, what I call spiritual practices, my ritual and my spirituality is, it's like, get up, brush your teeth, feed the dog, walk the dog, read your Bible, go to the gym. Now I can start my day. That didn't happen until, I don't know, a year and a half ago, probably per se. And so growing up, I don't remember I know my mom went to Bible study, but I don't think I ever saw my dad carry a Bible around. It was certainly, whatever the priest said, on Sundays, that was whatever it was. And, we did, catechism on Wednesdays, but, I had maybe a pocket combat Bible. If I look around here, it's laying around here somewhere, but, I'd read those when you're bored, maybe on a deployment or when things are going bad, maybe a few foxhole prayers. But yeah, I wasn't practicing, and truly living in his light like I do today. And it's amazing just shedding that weight that I carried for so many years. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
amazing.
So are you still Catholic today?
No, I'd say I just follow Jesus Christ. The church I go to, call it non-denominational. I know everyone would be like, well, there's got to be some type of denomination. I think Eagle Brook would fall under probably Baptist, maybe from their original beginning. But I mean, it's pretty much non-denominational, just wide open. Let's like I have one inside of my arm here. Faith, hope, and love will get us through it all. And it's not. Read the book. I mean, I'm part of a men's Bible study that I do, and I love it because, I suppose it was probably July of last year when I said, I'm going to read this bad boy front to back, and I didn't realize that the Old Testament was like 900 pages kind of thing, and it's like, boy, this is really dark for a long time. And so when I joined that Bible study that I'm in, probably August of last year, it got us into the New Testament, kind of thing, and that's where we started, which was nice because I got a little bit of both and educating myself that way. I'm still not completely done. I think I'm around 800 and change, so almost finishing up the Old Testament. By the end of September, I know I'll be done for sure and can finish out the full New Testament. And then I'm going to get one of those big, what do they call them, study Bibles, so I can get a little more history under the belt and just keep educating myself because it's kind of like I write and God only knows the devil comes for you. It's like, Jesus Christ is your best friend who wrote a book, and you want to read it. And, there's the prayer and meditation life that just, I don't know. It's just, life's amazing today. I can see how people have that positive, inspired attitude where I came from a very dark place just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing once you kind of go through that transformation of how your perspective on life kind of changes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Every single time now, like something doesn't come to fruition. Like I had a couple of meetings this afternoon that I was really excited for. I was like, ooh, like that's going to be a good one for business and, advertisement marketing. And I got on the call and like they never showed up to the call. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, that stinks. It's kind of rude. But then I also know that when stuff like that doesn't happen, like it's divine protection and knowing that like I probably would have got myself into a deal that I either wasn't ready to, maybe financially it wasn't the right timing. Well, all the different things that come into play. And today I can see that as opposed to getting upset, kind of cursing, whoever I was about to do business with, and just know that it just wasn't the right timing. Maybe it's going to happen down the road, or maybe it's never supposed to happen.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at things, and a lot of people don't see it that way because you'll see a lot of people when things don't go their way, they just that mindset they have, that negativity, they just start cursing and blaming everybody else for the problems.
Yeah, I had a buddy tell me, like you can look at everything as a skeptic, or you can just embrace that, it is what it is, and I think you can only really do that though, like if you have like that much light coming into you, from His grace, His mercy, His love, and kind of like we were talking about before the show, and put myself in the corner on a different show the other day. Somebody that they probably call himself an atheist or whatever it was, and for me, I was like, hey, you can believe what you believe, I can believe what I believe. We can leave it at that. I'm not going to get into an argument over it, and you can tell me that I don't have a certain foundation because I haven't read the Bible through and through yet. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. It's one of those things, and I'll take the criticism because it's. I'm glad that I'm doing it today. It took a long time for me to get here in life. So yeah,
That's awesome. So, what led you to join the Army?
Well, I mean, my dad was in the Army. He was in Vietnam. So that was probably one. My both grandfathers from the Navy in World War II. And we had a lot of other family members, uncles, cousins, and so forth. So I think when it was like, I didn't want to, join Reichert's insurance, the insurance business in town that my grandpa started. And my dad left the University of North Dakota when my grandpa got sick in the 70s to go help run the business. And it was just something, I was like, I don't want to do that. Seeing dad get beat down, over time and space, it was just like, that's not for me. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And when I couldn't get into West Point, I was like, my aunt and uncle had an accounting firm out in San Diego. I was like, I'll be an accountant. That'll be perfect. And, my freshman year, I got arrested. I was on the University of North Dakota rugby team. And so down here at the All Minnesota tournament, September of 1997, I got arrested for drinking and driving, underage and so forth. And I also found out I really don't like accounting. Like, all those classes weren't a lot of fun. And so I got to, get a job to pay for all my fines and court fees and so forth that I had. And I started going to AA meetings because I had 6 months of probation. And I lasted 6 months and a day as soon as my probation was done. And buddy and I ran to the bar, which he was a little older than me. And, like, I think we're about 11 months maybe. So we're both born in 78. And they'd see his ID and whatever and let him in. And, so they'd see mine at 78, even though December and January are obviously almost a year apart. And, no big deal. But yeah, anyways, didn't take long. It didn't settle with me. I wasn't done, I guess, partying. And so it changed quite a bit there. And that spring of my freshman year, my roommate had taken military science 101. And he's like, dude, this is the easiest A ever. You get to shoot like M16s. You get to rappel off the law school. There's actually some good looking girls, like, in class. And I was like, sign me up, because I just gotten like a 2.0, my fall semester. I had to drop a couple classes because I was failing them. And, I was still coming out of being in trouble from that fall. And so I was like, well, I'll sign up for a military science course in my sophomore fall. And I did that. And, they have the signs everywhere. Hey, sign up, see if you can get a scholarship. And money was starting to get tight. I was having to take more and more student loans out. And I was like, well, what's the worst that happened? So I stopped in the office. Trudy, the secretary, which she's like still there today. It's amazing. She's awesome. And I was like, what's it take, to get a scholarship? Like, I tried to get into West Point, but I got some hardware in my knee. They wouldn't allow me in. I couldn't get a waiver. And she's like, well, let me check, because like, I think some stuff's actually changed in the last few years. And she looked into it and she's like, well, just apply and we'll see what happens. Worst case scenario, you just don't get in. So me, like anything else, I'm like, sounds good. And filled it all out. And, I did my sophomore year just taking the classes. And that sophomore spring, I found out that I, got a 3-year scholarship. So it was actually pretty cool. As a junior, starting basically my freshman year, even though I'd finished 1 year of military science already. And it was super cool. I was able to do that. I was commissioned into the infantry. And it was just really a great experience all the way around. And, my former spouse, we got married actually before I was commissioned. And we started, our journey and traveled the world, and had a couple of beautiful little girls that became, independent, strong women. And it was pretty special. It came with obviously a lot of time apart, and probably a lot of sleepless nights on both sides for both of us. And but yeah, it's I wouldn't change any of it. It was one of those things. I was very proud to serve our country.
Awesome. So what did your service in the military teach you about leadership and teamwork?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's probably every, great leader that I had, seeing like how they were good listeners. The greatest leaders were really good listeners. They would assess the situations. They'd make a decision and then they'd stick to that decision. It was never any wishy-washy, on this side of the fence or on that side of the fence. They'd assess and listen, to their subordinates, obviously their superiors. And I just learned from great leaders. I wrote a thesis for my master's, probably 10 plus years ago now. But it was leader development, the importance of communication, trust, and legacy. And basically all the great general officers, were amazing communicators that built trust within their formations. And the legacy that they created is the junior soldiers, non-commissioned officers, and officers underneath them, like, were elevated through that development. And that just continued to build this amazing cycle of leaders. And I think I took that on right off the bat, coming out of, seeing some solid leadership. Both the battalion commanders I had in ROTC were, solid leaders. My first battalion commander was amazing. And we went to Afghanistan together, and to see him lead in combat and follow that, I think it's kind of like, I just think about being a follower of Jesus Christ, right? Like, it's one of those, if you got a great leader to follow, like, you can't just pay attention, listen, read, like, follow, be a good follower first. And I think that's hard for a lot of people. It might've been hard for me at times, because I probably did have a lot of pride and ego that maybe got in the way of, like, how I treated my peers, because I wanted to be the best, officer in the company or the battalion or the brigade or the division. And I also wanted our unit to be the best, but it's, and at what cost? I don't think I did anything, illegal, immoral, unsafe at the time, but at the same time, I'm sure I could have done a lot more to lift up my brothers or sisters to my left and right that were in those sister units. So,
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand, like, before you can actually lead people, you got to be able to follow first.
Absolutely.
Why did you end up retiring from the Army?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I could have stayed in for 8 more years. I wouldn't have progressed any more in my rank. But it was one of those where I think, as a family, and kind of where I felt like I wasn't going to progress to, like, the next, like, command and so on and so forth, that it was just time to move on and, see what civilian life would be like. And I thought I had prepared really, really well. I had it all figured out, like, what it would look like and so forth. And I didn't realize how lonely it would be after leaving that many years of service, and just the structure, of obviously getting up early in the morning, working out, spending time with, unbelievable teams, and, having that purpose. I've created a course that's called The War of Purpose Built to Break. And it basically, we're all going to have things that happen to us in life that might bring us to our knees. For me, it was, my PTSD that I had, coming out of Afghanistan 20 plus years ago. And then just playing stuff on repeat. The VA was good. I mean, I continue to get great support from the VA with therapy and so forth. But it's one, if you just continue to have that on auto repeat, of all the bad in life. And, that was the thing. I didn't have Jesus Christ in my life. And today I do. And, through a routine that is extremely regimented, I've been able to completely, rid those demons, from jumping in this brain bucket up here and cause them to wreak havoc, where I just can't control my thoughts. And, then, diving into the bottle or prescription drug abuse and so on and so forth. Not say that I won't grab a tub of Ben and Jerry's ice cream every once in a while. I do have a few guilty pleasures now with no drinking, no tobacco, no prescription drug abuse. So I do have sunflower seeds and Ben and Jerry's. I can't remember the name of it. It's like turtle butter crunch or something. That's like kind of been my jam of late. That once a week I have a cheat day. I'm not slinging weights and stuff like that to kind of eat a whole, what is it? Is that a pint one or one of those guys? Like 1,000 calorie pint? Yeah.
That's funny that you said that you have to stay regimented. I mean, that was the way I had to do to overcome everything, was be so structured and disciplined in every facet of my life. If I get out of that structure and that discipline, being disciplined in prayer, reading the Bible, working out, I mean, my life starts spiraling a little bit with letting things in.
Oh, you are, Ryan. You're so spot on there. Let's see if I got a copy of one. we're prettying it up, so this is pretty bland. But yeah, it's just spiritual practices. It's a lot of stuff. You can't read it all, but it literally, I like to do it like if you were to ever start it like the night before, because I believe if you go to bed on the right side, you're going to wake up on the right side, which is going to put you, off on the right foot for the day, and so on and so forth. But you can start it in the morning and still whatever. But it's your prayer meditation. It's constantly having an attitude of gratitude, kind of like we just talked about. Something doesn't go your way, it is meant to happen that way. It is protecting you. It is divine. And then your actions, like throughout the day, it's a smile. Please, thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry. You just repeat that everywhere you go. It's opened more doors for me in the last 21 months. Like this thing got me more detention in grade school, high school, whatever, for smiling. And it was always, Mr. Reichert, what'd you do? Like, what's so funny? What's whatever. And now in the professional world, like this bad boy, like, oh my goodness. Like I met someone last week out in California, and the only reason, like, the person like, well, how'd you two meet? You seem like best friends. And I was like, I smiled and said, hi, I'm Ryan, and the person, was like, hi, I'm Ruth. And, we work together all week. It's great. Looking forward to having more business in the future together. And this bad boy and eye contact, please, thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry, just rock and roll. Let's go. But you write down 10 things you're grateful for. I got it. If you're somebody that, like I can just look around here and think of all the things just that I'm grateful for right here in this room, let alone, thinking about people that, I don't live with, people, whatever it may be. It's easy to get to 10 things. If you can't, just think of 3, like if you got a roof over your head, you got a jacket, kind of, or a blanket, and no one's shooting at you or blowing you up, you're warm, dry, and safe, you're good to go. So just start there. I say that out loud because I had a buddy tell me that 2 years ago when I was living in my furnace room, before getting kicked out of the big house, kind of thing. So, but you pray for 3 people you do not adore. This one didn't come right away. This was something that took some time for me to really pray for those that weren't on, a good terms with me. But today I practice it. I definitely go well past 3 if I, it's getting less and less, because if you have Jesus in your heart, it's really hard to hate somebody. Yeah, you cannot do it. I found you just can't. But I still pray for those people that, sometimes wish me ill will or send me not the nicest text or whatever it may be. This is a big one for me. I call it the 3 daily wins. It's a physical win. So you can, it's as simple as walking, if you're a runner, great, lifting weights, swimming, anything that, gets the body, activated. You have your mental win, which is reading, writing, being creative anyway, some type of thing you want to learn. Then your spiritual win, which is pray, meditate, study, just grow. And then you actually do an after action review on your wins, so you do a sustain, 3 sustains, 3 improves. And then if there's any action you need to take. So, a good one that I like to tell people is, like, for me, I didn't start running right away again. Like, it looked like taking May, my 3-year-old golden doodle, which is my youngest daughter's dog originally, and it was walking her around the apartment, just to like go potty, right? Like that's how it started. Then it was like walk around 2 blocks, which is like the 5 buildings that make up our little complex here. And then it was like the neighborhood, and then it was 2 neighborhoods. And then I was finally able, I'd built up enough where I could start running again, because I'd walked, I don't know, a few miles or whatever, every single day for quite a while. And, so that's what that looks like, is taking action to improve upon yourself. I like to swim these days. I've liked to swim for a while because of the busted feet and stuff, but, whatever you like, it doesn't have to look anything crazy. It can be air squats, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever you like to do. Just activate your body. And then before you go to bed, it's the same thing. It's the prayer, meditation, attitude, gratitude. Thank the Lord for the day, and tell him to protect you while you sleep at night. I left out the 2 mantras. The morning mantras, not today, Satan, not today. And the night mantra is not tonight, Satan, not tonight. And that's my spiritual practice that I do every single day. And it has been such a huge transformation for me. It gets me out of my way of, it's like stubbing your toe, right? Like, you bounce around for a while and stuff like that. Like, I can stub my toe today and the cuss word doesn't come out. I don't kick the dog. I don't break the next thing. I'm very, what's the word? Unemotional when it comes to that kind of, just like my emotions I used to be very high and very low. And now I'm kind of like, just like maybe a little ripple when it comes to my emotions. Cause that's why, our feelings create so many different things. I think about it, like you're saying, like discipline over feelings. Like, I don't want to really do anything. Like when like I used to like not have alarm. Now the schedule, these are blessings. The schedule's fuller as a coach, right? Like you have calls like every day. You're working with clients every day. You're helping people write their books. That's pretty exciting. I make the joke all the time, like, if I can write a book, or how do I say it? If I can read a book, let alone write a book, anybody can. And it's true. It's just, you have to put the work in 30 minutes a day, just sit down by your computer, start typing whatever comes, he'll give you the words to flow through your fingers. If you sit there for one day and never write, like, I guarantee the next day you will write. So it's really cool when you finally surrender in everything that you do. And you just don't fight it. You don't try to control the narrative. You don't try to control the outcome. You just surrender. And it's so awesome.
Yeah. What was that rock bottom moment like for you, and when did it happen?
Yeah. No proud moments here. It was a number of months in the process, but it did end the 26th of November, 2023, 5 p.m. I had my last drink. Leading up to that, I was talking to other women on Match.com, that spring, a bunch of guys would go to Vegas and go to NASCAR and partying and, drugging and boozing and strip club jumping. And no proud moment. It's at this point today, I don't love talking about it because to truly repent, it means to change. And, I don't look anything like that person anymore, on the inside nor the outside. I'd gained 50 pounds after I'd retired from the Army. I have a picture on the fridge with my two girls. We're at a Twins baseball game. And when I look at it, I have like facial hair, so maybe that helps, like, or whatever, like cover up the fat. But my head was just like a sumo wrestler, the goatee. Like, it was just, I'm like, who's that guy? But I leave it up there to let to go, like, man, you fell off in 17 months. That's what it took. 17 months to burn a 4-year relationship, to spend, I don't know, we were probably 1.3, 1.6 million in debt. We bought a huge retirement house, had a Range Rover, had a boat, moored at the lake. We had season hockey tickets. We were traveling we're just running from everything, or I was running from everything. I was bringing my family with me or leaving my family behind. And it was ugly. It was terrible. I know what it cost me, and I don't want to see anybody else have to go through that. If if we can catch it, kind of thing, and we can do some work to get out of our own way. But if we are going through it, like, I definitely have the tools to get you out of the ditch. That's one of the things. It took me 18 months of the last 21 months to figure out what that looked like. But I got a process now. In 21 days, you can create the habits. That in 90 days, if you do exactly, what it looks like. I got 5 case studies that were batting 1,000. That literally, it's basically utilizing those practices, and you do them religiously for 21 days. You don't fart sideways, kind of thing. And then your body just naturally, Harvard figured out, it's their study, it's not mine. But once you do that for 21 straight days, and you're that locked in, and you continue to practice that for 90 straight days, you're pretty much ready to go. Like, my first 90 days didn't look like that. It looked like me going to, AA meetings and stuff like that, but I didn't have my first spiritual awakening until I was probably about 60 days sober.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
And
it, I think,
then,
too, because of like your mind too. Like you're such an emotional wreck coming up and down from getting off the chemicals.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I don't, I remember, those first 30, 60, 90 days, but I don't remember them either. I mean, I remember like big pieces of it, like, like having to move out of the house at Christmas time. The family's in New York, supposed to be on a family trip with friends, and it's like, you're uninvited. And now, while you're gone, you got 3 days to get out of the house. I was like, okay, sounds good. I'll get out of the house. Hopefully see what happens with all this. And, it was ugly. It's not pretty, and a lot of destruction, but 21 months later, that through being doing the next right best thing, healing, putting the work in every single day to be a better person. Because I don't think anybody wants to be what I look like 21 plus months ago. I don't think anybody wants that. It's just you just keep putting that stuff in your body and it's nasty comes back out the other side. And I just, yeah, it's pretty cool to see like how, working this hard where, you know, no booze, no tobacco, no, as you just keep removing stuff. Like I want to like keep removing, like I think the ultimate, I know one guy removed like everything, even sugar. And I see him and I'm like, dude, you're a beast. It's like, that looks awesome. And he's like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like you might want to wait a couple years before you remove this one. Cause it's not, and I can see that because I do, every once in a while I want to have like, last night somebody had like chocolate covered pretzels and I ate like 4 of them, and that was pretty awesome. So
The
yeah.
little things sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one where, it's like, hey, maybe it took a couple minutes off my life and, I got to spend a little bit more time in the gym, but, not quite there yet completely. But I mean, that's the thing. Like we all, as humans, I think of this all the time. One of my mantras or mottos or whatever is growth over comfort. Right. And so like the Bible's amazing statistically, and it's like, if you read your Bible every single day, like if you're into porn, it's like 65% like reduction in like, diving into whatever form of pornography you're into. I want to say alcohol, it's like, like 47% or something, like just by doing that, not to mention you start adding on other stuff to it. Marriages that like, read the Bible 4 more times a day, pray together, and put God first in everything they do, have a 1% chance of divorce. 1%. So I mean, I don't know what if you need statistics. There you go. There's some statistics to like it. If you have a hard time looking at it as like it's religious, no, it's spiritual, and it's a book, 66 books. So you can just read the book and see what happens. I mean, I've read books that I'm like, why did I read that book? And I probably learned something from it. So you probably learned something from it, if But whatever. Not pushing anything here. Just an example. I'm a good example.
Yeah, keep shining that light, ma'am. You started our protector development. Can you explain what it is and why you started it?
Yeah, I co-founded it. The good Lord and I guess it was one where kind of kept seeing these. It's called Taylor Brands. It kept popping up. Form your own LLC. It's going to be a great adventure. And I was unemployed, and at the time was like, I don't want to go back to corporate America. Fortune 500 did not fuel me like I thought it was gonna. There was no amount of money that filled the God-sized hole that I had inside of me. And so I think it was like December 13th. Got on Taylor Brands. It's like, what's your name? What's your email? What would you like to call your LLC? We'll search if it's taken or not. And so I don't know. It came to me, Our Protector, and it was so Our Protector LLC was started. And I had been doodling and drawing some stuff. I suppose I read the Bible, and something would come to me. I put it on paper, and it was 30 December. My mom was visiting for Christmas, and we had Christmas with the girls. think the day before. I got an email, like basically it's like, hey, your divorce decree has just been signed by the judge. And I told my mom, I was like, I have this like really strong, like to go just write what I have in this notebook down, like, like just put it in a Word document and see where it's going to go. And I just started writing, and I don't know, 4 hours later, she came and checked on me. She's like, you still writing? Everything's okay? Like, yeah, I'm good. And, at that point I had like started just, I don't know where it came, things that I had on my phone, like different stuff, just, it was flowing. And I wrote for, the majority of that day. And, then just kept writing. And so like the business, which I didn't know where it was going to go or what it was going to be, just it started with the first book. And then I had a meeting with, I think it was some type of self-publishing company, and then Trilogy Christian Publishing about maybe a month after I started the business. And, I was probably about 70% done with the book when we had that meeting. And loved Trilogy. It's like they have your contract. It's like, do you believe in, God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit? Blah 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 blah. You sign a contract. And I'm like, I love this. Like, let's go. And a couple weeks later, I ended up going to De Montreville for a silent retreat with the Jesuits, and I finished the book while I was there. It's like a show up Thursday night, leave Sunday night. The group I was with, was like, all right, turn your cell phones in, watches, everything. We're not talking like the entire, whatever it ends up being. And every day I just kept getting downloads of like things were just flowing. And so I finished that book by the end of January, and we transitioned into the Icarus Effect. And we wrote, I say we, it's the good Lord, myself, like wrote the Icarus Effect in 12 days and paired up with Trilogy for that book. So at that point, we had 2 books, and it's like crazy because it takes, 4 to 6 months to go through the production phase of publication. So the first book was released 3 June. Super awesome. I was out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and at the Coeur d'Alene Summit, Eric Rock had put it on, and he gave me my first opportunity to start what would be the speaking part of the business. And so basically in that moment, or prior to that moment, the Our Protector LLC turned into Our Protector Legendary Leadership Companies, because we turned it in, publishing, writing, so on and so forth, into speaking, which also turned into coaching with working with Ben Newman and his companies. And I'd also started co-hosting a podcast, Our Healer, Our Protector, with Lisa Sander, which then formed the media portion of Our Protector Legendary Leadership Companies, in the media side of that. And it's just continued to be co-founded. Lisa and I just last night found out we just received our 501c3 for Our Healer, Our Protector, which now makes it, a nonprofit. And so therefore we look at doing some amazing things in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and then we'll see where we can go further to continue to give back, because the Lord's just blessed us both immensely with everything that we're doing in both of our businesses. And it's amazing if you just surrender and listen what comes, as you read the Bible, every day, like there'll be things I've forgotten about or new ideas of how to better run the businesses. And all I'm doing is doing this or moving this little guy around here and getting on phone calls, us getting matched up together to be on your platform. So thank you so very much for this. And it's just it's beautiful. I just I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Yeah, it's awesome how God's worked in your life and has led you to where He wanted you all along. He just had to take you through. He just had to humble you a little bit and take you through the darkness.
Yeah. There was definitely a lot of rough edges to smooth off, and that humility, kind of thing. I, it's a necessary thing. I was very, cocky and arrogant in everything I did. Like previously, if I hadn't been as humble as I have had to be, you pay for it in one way, shape, or form. Something, come into your life to show you how to be kind, how to be loving, how to be forgiving. And all those words, I don't believe I truly knew what they meant, until the last, well, I would say, the last 6 months, realistically, when I really, really look at it, to really understand it and really embrace it and see when people come into your life, if you're meant to protect them, if you're meant to, help heal them, those are the kind of things now that when I reflect, it's, like why are you in someone's life? Why is someone in your life? And, the saying of, you got to give it away to keep it. If you give it away, you're going to receive so much more. And there's nothing better than service. I mean, that's the ultimate reward, is helping someone else. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you touched on your podcast. What inspired you to start podcasting?
Nothing. I don't. I mean, I still. I like I said, I love and appreciate being on your show. But for me, like the podcast, Our Healer, Our Protector, was purely Lisa. She was a young girl. Her and her girlfriends would play one would be dressed up as Oprah Winfrey, the other one would be like the pregnant mom on the show or whatever. Like she has like little Polaroid pictures of it, and she's like, "Would you do a podcast with me?" And so this was probably like January, February timeframe, and I was like, that's what you want to do, I'll do it. And, you want to talk about spiritual warfare. This is wild. So I want to say, it was probably like finishing up the first book. It was finishing up the first book because we went out to Vegas to shoot like our first couple shows with the company that helps edit Broadcast Your Authority. They're amazing. And totally just love everything that they do to support us, help us, promote us. But, I don't think we launched our first episodes until May. Just with things that happened, you just wouldn't believe. Every time we're like recording stuff, like power outage, computer melt to the ground, things that just the timing, the synchronization. When I think of being like the greatest operations officer under the moon, the stars, and everything, the creator, right? Like can synchronize it so well that it's like, no, it is not time yet. It is not time yet. And then finally, when it did, I think we got 20 some episodes at this point. It's really taken off, in such a short amount of time. And it's it's one North Dakotan boy and one Minnesotan girl. One was a soldier and one still is a nurse. I guess once a soldier, always a soldier, but excuse me. We just read from the Bible or whatever devotional we read for the day, or if we got something come from church, whatever the Holy Spirit puts, inside of us to project out, to help others. That's just really what we're doing. And that's what we're hoping to continue to do with the nonprofit. And really the for-profit businesses are just really to spin it into the nonprofit so we can continue to just, how does the saying go? I probably say it different every time I say it, but it's like, feed the poor, heal the sick and protect the weak. I mean, I just, when I'm going around town, heading to a meeting or heading to help somebody, I see somebody homeless, I got to stop now. I give them a second chance. God only knows the devil comes to you a second chance in life. I give them a book and a little bit of money right now. I'm hoping that'll be more down the road. As we can get folks to help us out a little bit, but, and build it out to build communities in the Metroplex, where areas are really, riddled with homelessness and, just all that chaos that can happen when you have a 3.5 million person Metroplex and, there's just not enough love to go around because we just always, what's that fear, forget everything and run or face everything and rise. So I'm here to stay, I guess. I never wanted to be a Minnesotan in life, but here I am, and let's go try to change the world, one person at a time here.
Awesome. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So ourprotectordevelopment.com is probably the most central hub to see, either the books, the speaking, podcasts. The course will be coming out the end of September. The application will probably be out the end of October. The third book by the end of the year kind of thing. And, but yeah, so that's ourprotectordevelopment.com for the best centralized location. The podcast is Our Healer, Our Protector. If you want to watch it, it's on YouTube. If you listen to stuff, I want to say Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Spotify. I'm probably forgetting one. Maybe Amazon Music. Or if you do the social media things, I wasn't a social media guy just till the last few months, but it's Ryan T. Reichert on most of the platforms. I think Instagram and TikTok, it is Army RT 1978. And just Ryan, thank you so very much. What a blessing to be invited onto your show. And I love you all.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. Like I said, when I started diving into your story a little bit, I'm like, man, he's got such a similar background that I had and kind of went through a lot of the same stuff. We were just led in different directions at times.
Absolutely.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
I don't think so. There's a lot always there, so if anybody else out there listening, hey, have me come on and we can talk about something different on their show or whatever it may be. But yeah, I think we covered a lot of it, so I appreciate it.
Awesome. Final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity?
Yeah, it's my new one. It's my new coaching slogan. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but focus. And that's fear, opportunity, consistency. And this is a word that doesn't exist. So for all you people out there that want to say that's not a real word, Ryan, I know it's not a real word, but it fits better. It's unemotionality. And that leads to success. So focus, fear, opportunity, consistency, unemotionality, and success. And if you can be focused in everything that you do, and I acknowledge that you might be in the ditch right now, reach out, ask for help, and get focused. I'll leave it at that.
Great advice right there. Ryan, thank you again for coming on here. Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is go through the fire.